All right, let's take a look at where we left off last time. I'm going to grab my environment here, click on color here, and just take the transparency up. So I want to, in this lesson, sort of think about ways that we can let people know that we have picked up a customer, right? So like in our last tutorial here, we covered this updated collision. We covered essentially this whole thing about my taxi cab, whether or not they have a driver, right? So if we look at taxi pickup script, we could see we have a passenger, and when I drop them off, I no longer have a passenger. So let's do something kind of fun. Let's change the color of our car so that it is a bright yellow when we have a passenger, and then that color turns off. And it's a good way of reinforcing how to use the get component, which is really a huge part of how scripting, especially in Unity, works. All right, so briefly before we create our script, notice that what I'm going to do is I'm going to access this sprite renderer component. And that word component is important to understand that each one of these is a component. And these are fields. So for example, in the color field, if I click on that, I could click on this and I can make my car yellow. And I could take this all the way to yellow here. And because the colors are blending on my cab, I'm getting this kind of color. So we could go in here and let's see, change this to, let's see, HSV. Now we'll just leave it as RGB here. So that's pretty good. Let's see if there's something else. Maybe purple seems to stand out more, but we'll go with yellow here. And so we have 255, 255, 0, 255. That's essentially how we get to this color. Move it back to white for a second. So let's go ahead and make a script called change color. And really you could use this if you need to change colors of anything else. So for example, say you run over a package, or that you want a person to turn red if they, you want them to highlight. So if I select this guy and I want the girl to turn red so that she points out or something. So let's select our taxi cab and let's just drop our change color script right here. You could, again, just as a side thing, you could type in change color and then just attach the script this way. So I'm going to remove that extra copy of the script. All right, so let me go ahead and open up my change color script and pause the tutorial. All right, so let's just look at how we can store a specific color. So I'm going to make a serialized field here, and this way we can tweak the color outside of here. And I'm going to use color 32, and this just gives us a 32-bit color, and I'm going to name this car color. And actually, we should just name this color change in case we, like I said, we use this for other objects like object pickups or something. And then we have to make this equal to a new color 32. And inside of these parameters here, you could see it was telling us how it works, right? There's essentially 4 values, and I'll show you how this correlates. Let's see if I go here. Let's see, it just popped up a second ago. Maybe if I click here and then I hover over here. Well, it's looking for 4. So let me type in 0, 0, 0, 0. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Now it stands for red, green, blue, and alpha. Now you're not going to type this R colon, G colon, B colon. This is a nice nifty feature as part of essentially Writer that tells you what each one of these values are. So if you recall, in order for us to get to yellow here, we want to get 255, that's the red, the green is 255, the blue is 0, and then the alpha is 255, just indicating that it's not transparent. So all we have to do now is, let's move this back to, this is 255 all the way across, is we just have to turn, just make sure that this stays as 0. So I'm going to do 255, and I'm going to tab over 255, and you can see it actually brings up a little color box there. And then for the alpha, RGB, and then it's giving us an error because we're missing our alpha. So I'm going to type in actually 255 for my alpha. 0 would make our car transparent. Now we get a little error here because it looks like I typed in 255 twice. And if you click on this, for some reason it's registering it as pink. Unless I did this wrong. Is it? Let's see. Color change is pink here. 255, 246 in the alpha. Oh, my blue should be 0. So let's change this around. But because we made it a serialized field, we can actually adjust it inside the view. So say you're like not happy with the color or whatever, You could just change it in here. But I just want it to be set to default for color change to the yellow. And then I'm just going to duplicate this. And I'm going to name this no color change. And this is going to be whatever the default color is. And this is why we can change it back and forth between a color change and no color change. And for this one, I think it's just all 255 to make it white. Let's see. Yeah, they're all 255 to make it white. And the whiteness, having it white is important because when you're multiplying this white color times the texture, it just looks like this. All right, now the next thing is you might be wondering, well, now that we have these two variables, right, color change and no color change, how do I access my sprite renderer? Well, if you've done the other tutorials, which I'm sure you have, all you have to do is really just kind of find the name of our component, which is sprite renderer here. And then I'm just going to put an underscore here and just call this sprite renderer. Something else I forgot to do, which I keep doing, is I forgot to add my namespace. Because again, remember, namespaces are great because we can compartmentalize our script. And then I'm going to hold Control Enter here. We can compartmentalize our script so they only work with one game. Let's see, we got an error here. Oh, sprite renderer, and I forgot my semicolon here. So like now, if we have a duplicate class like called change color in another another one of our games, if we have a namespace here, it won't. You could have two scripts of the same name, and it also kind of keeps all of your scripts sort of in the same namespace or part of the same family. Now, remember, inside of Start, in order to get this access to this sprite render component, we have to use the get component, and then we just have to tell it what component we want to get, which is our sprite render here. And this will give us access, essentially, to that color parameter, which is here. And we can use these two values to change that color parameter. All right, so what I want to do next is I want to create two methods. So they're going to both be public, so that way we can access them inside of our taxi pickup script. So for example, like when we, remember we have here, if we collide with an object and it's tagged passenger and we do not currently have a passenger, we'll pick one up. Well, I want to call the change color this method here. So I'm going to make a public void, and this method is just going to be called change color. And then let's close that up. And then I'm going to highlight all of this and duplicate it. Now it looks like I'm getting an error here. Let me maybe change object color. That might be something that already exists. There we go. Yeah. And then change object color back. I think we might have that error because it could be a class that's already taken by Unity. Change object color back. And all we have to do now is inside of here, we're going to set our sprite renderer to that color. Now this is pretty easy to do. I do sprite color, or sprite renderer rather, dot color, dot color equals, and then all we have to do is do color change. And then I'm going to save that. I'm going to hit Control D and hold Alt, and then put that inside of here, and then do no color change. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, we have change object color here, right? And then we have change object color back. So a couple things we have to do. Now remember, this script, change color, is on the same component here, right? So what we have to do inside of taxicab pickup, and this is kind of nice because it breaks out the logic of changing the color into its own script. But what we do inside of taxi pickup here is we need a variable. And that variable is going to be of type change color. That's the name of this class. And I'm just going to do underscore change color here. And because these two methods are marked as public, I can access them. So what I can say, because we have an object here, is inside of start. Let's see, let's bring our start back. Is we have to say, just like before, we have to say underscore change color equals get component. And what component do we want to access here? Well, we want to access this change color script. So we're going to access change color here. And now what that gives us access to is, as we bump into a passenger, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, after we mark, we'll do it before it marks it as true. Really, I just don't want it to be after destroy because that can give us issues. but I'm going to do change color dot, and then I'm going to call that change object color method. And then I'm going to grab this guy. And then over here where we have the house party, I'm going to change object color back. So let's save that and let's go ahead and test this out in our game. So here we are, and I picked up a driver. Let's go drop him off. Boop. Now we're back. Let's go pick up someone else. Pretty cool. And this is like, if you love 2D games like this, you know, this has so much potential to just be something awesome, right? Like you want to give, here's some sort of quote unquote game design tips, is you always want to give them affordance, which means you want to let them know what's coming, but you also want to know what, you want to remind them of what's going on. And this is a great way of doing it. And we're going to build on this. And like I said, we'll build it where we drop them off at the party, and maybe we'll put something in the UI where the picture of the appearance of the same character appears when we pick them up.